The Diplomat, 6th of November 2023, Brazil and Argentina's differing views of China's Belt and Road Initiative. One of China's main objectives in its global divide-and-conquer strategy is South America. South America's two biggest economies are those of Argentina and Brazil. Argentina has received an invitation to join Brazil and other major developing nations in the BRICS organization, and they are both members of the G20. They both produce a lot of commodities. Having lived for years under an oppressive military dictatorship, they have each spent 40 years in democracy. They have both won numerous World Cups and have a passion for telenovelas. They also do a lot of business with China. However, Brazil, a primary recipient of Chinese foreign direct investment and a significant supplier of raw materials to China, has refrained from joining the Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, which is Chinese President Xi Jinping's flagship program of massive lending to finance infrastructure building across the developing world. Argentina has signed up for the initiative. How come? I contend that unless a nation stands to gain immensely from joining the BRI or lose significantly from not participating, it will not join. Compared to Argentina, which is in a perpetual crisis and is desperately short of hard money, Brazil, which has a more mutually beneficial business relationship with China, has more room for movement. Xi introduced the BRI in 2013. Brazil was experiencing political unrest and a severe recession during the program's early years, caused by the mismanagement of Dilma Rousseff, a leftist president currently in charge of the new development bank in Shanghai. Any foreign support for Brazil's struggling economy in the final years of Rousseff's presidency, or even under Michel Temer's, would have been appreciated. Jair Bolsonaro, a xenophobe akin to Donald Trump, succeeded Temer and made any closeness to China unimaginable. However, as of January 2023, Rousseff's mentor, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, popularly known as Lula, has returned to power. Lula previously served as president from 2003 to 2011. Early in his reign, Lula traveled to China. Brazil practices pragmatic, low-value diplomacy, and its leaders are well known for their carefree attitude about associating with despicable tyrants. Examples of this include extending legitimacy to repressive governments like those in Cuba and Venezuela and inviting Iran and Saudi Arabia to join the BRICS alliance. Furthermore, consider how much Brazil depends on China. Since 2009, Brazil's top trading partner has been China, largely thanks to its petroleum, iron ore, and soybeans exports. Brazilian exports to China increased from $63 billion in 2019 to $89 billion in 2022 under Bolsonaro alone. Brazil is one of the few sizable economies that has continuously maintained a trade surplus with China. It also receives a sizable amount of loans and investments from China. Therefore, it may come as a surprise that Brazil has opted out of the BRI thus far. Excitement was high in the Brazilian sinosphere regarding a possible announcement of Brazil's participation in the program during Lula's visit in April 2023, but that did not happen. In contrast, Argentina signed a memorandum of understanding to join the BRI in February 2022. Argentina is arguably less dependent on China than Brazil is in terms of international trade. Brazil, Argentina's trading partner in the dormant Mercosur trade group, is the country's biggest trading partner, second only to China. Even though they began from a low foundation, Argentina's inward FDI figures increased dramatically in the 3 years leading up to 2022. Although getting recent data on FDI in Argentina is challenging, historically, China has not been one of the nation's top investors. Argentina's difficult financial situation most likely contributed to its decision to join the BRI. The International Monetary Fund has saved Argentina multiple times. The most recent bailout, totaling $44 billion, was authorized in 2022. Nevertheless, it was declared in July that the IMF would lend money to Argentina for that country to reimburse the IMF. China and Argentina's central bank have an arrangement to exchange local pesos for renminbi. It is well known that Argentina has been using that swap line to reimburse its foreign creditors, including the IMF. Despite its firm reliance on China for trade, Brazil has more immediate options. According to the Dialogue Leadership for the Americas, approximately $31 billion in loans from China were given to Brazil during the height of China's foreign lending program. However, Brazil depends more on its internal market for funding than on foreign lenders. Brazil has not supported its accounts with its RMB swap line unlike Argentina. Furthermore, Brazil is reassured that China depends on its exports of food and raw commodities. China is in no position to pick fights with Brazil, a dependable supplier and diplomatic ally, after it has enraged other major commodity exporters like Australia, Canada, and the United States. Argentina and Brazil's different decisions regarding the Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, teach us two things, notwithstanding their grandiose discussions about values, multilateralism, and developing nations' aspirations to create a new international order. In the first, the importance of negotiating power is discussed. Brazil uses its status as a crucial ally to dictate at least some of the parameters of the bilateral relationship. In contrast, Argentina has adopted a beggars-cannot-be-choosers attitude toward its dealings with China. Consider the following analogy: Greece, a BRI member and receiver of significant Chinese FDI in its port sector, is a European country. Regardless of Greece's involvement in the Belt and Road Initiative, China benefits from the port of Piraeus as a gateway to the European Union's import logistics. However, Greece, like Argentina, was in dire need of any external validation for its economy following the financial crisis of 2009 and the challenging euro talks that followed. Greece accepted the offer. Italy, the only significant industrialized nation to join the BRI, is considering leaving the program and running the danger of incurring China's fury in the process. Italy understands that aside from its G7 colleagues' misgivings, it hasn't benefited much from the BRI. Italy is not suffering from excessive debt, in contrast to some of the BRI's purported beneficiaries in Africa. Instead, the more sobering reality is that no BRI projects have come to pass. This leads us to the second lesson about China's limitations of financial power. Developing nations have seen the Chinese purse as limitless for most of the last 20 years. However, it is already evident that merely showcasing the BRI brand has not resulted in a significant increase in trade or investment over what was already sure to happen. Regardless of labels, China has remained one of the most attractive trade and investment destinations, providing supplies to or accepting investments from these markets. Brazil's decision doesn't seem as strange now. Just avoiding the Belt and Road Initiative has freed Brazil and other developing nations to strike a balance between China and the West without proving they are not sell-offs.